Good morning, everybody. My name is Bernice Casey. I am a compliance officer with the Office of Labor Standards Enforcement. And the purpose of this video and presentation is to provide you an overview of the Paid Parental Leave Ordinance. It'll be approximately 8 minutes. I'll walk you through the law to help you determine if you are covered by the law as an employer and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. Please remember at the end of this presentation, you will find contact information for compliance officers, such as myself, that can assist you if you have any technical questions afterwards. Thank you. So what is the Paid Parental Leave Ordinance? It is a unique law. There's no other law like this in the United States. It was passed in 2016 and became effective in 2017. The law basically requires you as an employer to provide employees additional money while they're receiving paid family leave through the state of California's Employment Development Department. This law, the PPLO, is not additional time. Instead, it is a law associated with compensation, additional money for the employee while they're on the bonding leave. Who's covered by the law? Which employers are covered? So, like with multiple laws our office enforces, when you are counting employees, you count employees that are both in San Francisco, whether working from a brick and mortar location or from their home, and individuals outside of San Francisco. For example, if you have a workforce that is in Florida, as well as in Arizona, you would count all of those individuals. If after counting, you have 20 or more employees globally, you are covered by this law. If you have fluctuation in your workforce and you're trying to determine, oh, sometimes I have 10 people, sometimes I have 5, sometimes I have 30, always feel free to contact our office and we can walk you through how to determine if you are covered. Please remember, as a covered employer, you must post notices, as with other laws our office enforces, in a conspicuous place and provide employees the PPLO form when they tell you that they are covered, when they tell you that they are going to be a parent. Please note government entities such as the UCSF Hospital, San Francisco State University, the school district, and city and county employees are not covered by the law, as those individuals work for a government entity. So again, to recap, if you have 20 or more employees globally and people working in San Francisco, you are covered by this law. Which individuals are covered by this law? So employees who have been employed for 180 days, so 6 months, before they start their leave are covered by the law. Anybody who is becoming a parent, whether they themselves are giving birth, whether their partner's giving birth, whether they are adopting a child, whether they're using surrogacy, whether they themselves are a surrogate, anybody who is going to become a parent who has worked for you at least 40% of the time in San Francisco and is receiving paid family leave, they are covered by the law. Sometimes employers will say, well, they're not CFRA covered or they're not FMLA covered. The PPLO does not require the same employment history and time as the federal and state job protection law. So again, as an employer, anyone who has been employed for 6 months, works 40% of the time in San Francisco, they are covered by this law. We're going to talk about some key terms The first one is the PPLO look back period. So sometimes you'll hear it referred to just as the look back period. The look back period is a time frame that you as an employer use to determine if someone's covered by the law, to determine how much that employee's normal, quote, gross weekly wage is. And as I said in an earlier slide, if you have the number of employees necessary to be covered by the law. So if you pay weekly, you would look at the 12 pay periods prior to that individual going out on leave. If you pay semi-monthly, you would look at the 6 semi-monthly pay periods prior to that individual going out on leave, or the 6 biweekly pay periods, or the 3 monthly pay periods. And again, that time frame, whether it's the 12 weekly or the 3 monthly, is the time frame that you as an employer will look at to determine if that individual was working 40% of their time in San Francisco. It's the time period in which you will look at their pay stubs to include all wages, all gross wages, including overtime, including any applicable bonuses or commissions. You will look at that look back period to determine the amount of money that person averages. Again, if you have workforce that fluctuates, or this individual employee for whom you are trying to determine if they are covered because they work sometimes in San Francisco and sometimes in another location, please feel free to reach out to our office. So what do you as an employer need to do? So as I spoke to earlier, in all of your brick and mortar locations, you need to post the notice. The notice informs employees in multiple languages about the law and the employee's rights under the law. If you have individuals working at remote locations, feel free to email them notice or mail them the notice. Once an employee tells you they're going to be a parent, you're required to give them the PPLO form, which is a 4-page document that you can find on our website. And then you start to determine if that individual is eligible. So first, you want to make sure that they work 40% of their time in San Francisco, that they've been employed 180 days. And after you have made that determination, you move on to calculating what that employee is owed. Okay, so put the poster up, give the form, determine if the employee's been working in San Francisco and has been employed for 180 days, and then you're going to figure out how much you owe that person and start to pay them. In upcoming slides, I will discuss how to determine the supplemental compensation amount due to your individual employees. What does an employee need to do? So the first step is to apply for California paid leave. This is a process an employee can do online or in paper form. Although our office does not enforce state or federal laws, there are employer requirements under state law to notify employees about their rights and benefits. So please, as an employer, make sure you are doing that. Once the employee has applied for paid family leave, they complete the San Francisco paid parental leave form that you provided them. Then, once they receive verification from the state of California, they're going to submit back to you the PPLO form with proof that they're receiving paid family leave. And that proof takes the form of a notice of computation or a notice of payment. The employee should also maintain all records and receipts that they get from the EDD. Okay, so now we've covered what you have to do, what your employee has to do. So let's talk a little bit about paid family leave. Please note our office cannot answer questions about paid family leave. This slide is to give you an overview. And at the bottom of the slide, please take note of an employer-only number. So as of July 2020, all individuals applying for paid family leave for the purposes of bonding are entitled to 8 weeks. Please note an employee can decide to take that time all 8 weeks in a row, so consecutively, or they can break up their time, meaning they can take it intermittently. If you have both parents working for you, both parents are entitled to this benefit. And both parents can take the benefit at the same time or at different times. The important piece here is that that benefit, paid family leave, must be taken within 1 year. So you have to complete the leave within 1 year of the birth, fostering, or adoption of a child. And again, before I move on, I'd like you to take note of the EDD number for employers, 855 342 3645. So now, how do you determine how much you owe somebody? So you're going to look at the PPLO form. Section 2 of the form is a place for the employee to indicate that they've either provided you with a notice of computation or they've indicated to the EDD that you, the employer, can call the EDD on their behalf, on the employee's behalf, and make inquiries about how much that employee is being paid. So again, if you're going to do that, you're going to contact the EDD. Please do so by calling 855 342 3645. So you'll find calculation tools on our website. We'll talk about that in a future slide, but you should know the tools you need to calculate are available to you online. So you can either utilize the Excel documents that are on our website, or you can download the PDF calculation tools. So before you start that process, before you determine how much is owed, first you need to go back either the 12 weeks, the 6 semi-monthly payments, or the 6 bi-weekly payments, or the 3 monthly payments that individual employee received from you, the employer, prior to going out on leave, because you need that information to determine what the employee's average is. So once you calculate what the employee's average wages in that look back period, that 3-month look back period, you subtract what the employee is receiving from the state of California. So on the, or at least on my right side of the slide, you'll see an example. So if an employee is receiving $300 from the state and if an employee is receiving $700 from a state and they usually make $1,000, then the difference between 700 and 1,000 is 300. So the $300 is the compensation amount that you, the employer, owe that employee. Please remember that you need to begin to pay the employee at your regularly scheduled pay periods as soon as you receive verification that employee is receiving paid family leave. So here are some common issues that come up. We receive calls and emails from employers, and then some misconceptions. I want to stress here, it is very important that as soon as someone tells you they're going to be a parent, that you provide them the PPLO form and that you document in some way, shape, or form that you provided them, and that you keep that record. Keep the record that you provided them the form, so that if there's ever a question about compliance in the future, you can look at your records, whether that's email correspondence, a memo, whether you have the employees sign that they received the form. However you choose to document that you provided the employee the form, keep a record of it so that in the future, if you need to produce it, you're able to. I think I talked about some of these before, but let's go through them again. Anybody can become a parent. So this law is not about people giving birth. It applies to an uncle who's fostering his nieces. It applies to two dads who just adopted their first child. It applies to a single parent who's going through the adoption process. Anyone who tells you they're going to be a parent is covered by the law. As I talked about before, that this law, the San Francisco law, is about money. And you, the employer, are required to give employees money while they're on paid family leave. The paid family leave benefit does not have to be taken consecutively. An employee can break up paid family leave. And if they're breaking up paid family leave, then by default, you provide them compensation under the San Francisco law, under the PPLO, intermittently as well. The 180 days isn't about actual days of work. It's about how long has that person been employed with you. If they started on April 1st and they became pregnant, pretty quickly after starting there, and they had to go out on disability in September, but they went on paid family leave in November, because the November paid family leave start date is 180 days or more after their hire date with you, they would be covered by the law. Again, if you have questions about if someone's covered by the law, please feel free to contact our office. That is what we're here for, to provide you the technical assistance you need to comply with this law. So one of the most important things is to make sure that you are talking to your workforce, not just the employees, but the management. Make sure your managers know about this law so that they can provide information to employees when an employee tells them they're going to be a parent. Make sure that if you have an employee handbook or an online portal, that you have information in the handbook or the portal about the San Francisco law. Remember that you can find calculation instructions, an Excel document, a PDF document, and an Excel form that walk you through how to determine the amount of money that you owe employees. Make sure you keep copies of all your records, including when you gave employees the PPLO form. Make sure you're in communication with employees who are on leave prior to going out, while they're out, and after they come back, to ensure that you've received all EDD documentation that you need to calculate what that employee is owed. And again, I want to keep repeating this because it's important. If you have questions, please contact our office. So you'll find a lot of information on our website. There is a copy of the notice that's required to be put up. There are copies of employee step-by-step guides and employer step-by-step guides that I reviewed with you in previous slides. The PPLO form is there and the calculation tools are there. So please note the website address. And again, if you can't find what you're looking for, please contact us. So I've walked you through what's on the website, but let's just go through it again so you have that information. Training such as this one you'll find on our website, the Excel calculators, as well as written step-by-step calculation instructions are on there. Frequently asked questions, the rules that govern the law, and employee and employer documents such as step-by-step guides are on our website. If you have questions, please feel free to call. The PPLO hotline number is 415-554-4190, or email us. I find the email to be a lot more helpful for employers because then you have a written record of the advice that our office shared with you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Again, please reach out to our office if you have any questions about any of the laws we enforce. Have a good day.